Hey everybody, JP here. And if you caught the video we did a few weeks ago on the various SSL consoles used by Metallica throughout the 90s, I figured out a way to kind of demo them a bit that I think you guys are going to dig. About a year ago, I did a recreation of the guitar tones on King Nothing from Load. And just to refresh your memory, if you didn't see that video, you might want to go check it out and actually see how we broke down James and Kirk's tones to match them. And I did that with the stems of the drums and bass from the actual album. So here's what that sounds like. So those are the album stems. And then these are my guitar parts. James on the left, Kirk on the right. With James' guitar, it was one performance split through 3 tracks. We used Nombrini Cali Axis for the tri-axis 2C plus tones he was using around that time. Then we used Mega Single by Brainworx for the triple rectifier, I believe, is what he was using. And then for the Jose Arredondo modded Marshall, we use this Nombrini JMP Pro. And on Kirk's side, his primary amp for this album was a dual rectifier, so we again used the Brainworx Mega Single for that. And he blended it with a Marshall that he liked a lot. So we used the JMP Pro for that. And I was quite happy with the way these turned out. So again, we did a whole big video on the breakdown of all that. But what this is about today is a little different. Good point to stop it. So I have this collection of tracks duplicated. On the left, in blue, we have it, all of them going through multiple instances of the Brainworx 4000E plugin. Now, I'm not actually EQing anything with these. I'm only using these in their stock default settings for the harmonic distortion, and I have not increased it beyond what Brainworx saw fit. And this was kind of part of the experiment, right? So in all those guitar tracks, the actual EQing I was doing was with the UAD Neve 1081 plugins, because that's what Metallica recorded those guitars through. So on that original video, I had the Waves E version 2 on each track as kind of like a console tone. But for this, I decided I was going to go with the Brainworx because it's a bit newer. I was curious to try it myself, and I really love this feature where you could do random channel and have, you know, all of the channels have a slight variance, just like a real console would. And even though the drums and bass are stems from the album, I also put it on there. So we're going to listen to everything through the 4000E. I also have it on the drum bus and the Mixbuss. We're going to talk about that in a minute too, because I have another little comparison that we're going to do with that. And then on this side in red, I have all those same tracks going through instances of the Brainworx 9000J. Now, part of the reason I chose to go with Brainworx for this, again, the random channel thing I think is really brilliant. But also, I know the SSL 4000E plugin, the native 4000E, gets great reviews. A lot of people prefer it to the Brainworx, right? But the 9000J by SSL is actually based on the digital EQ in some of their boards. At least that's my understanding. Whereas the Brainworx 9000J is actually based on the analog 9000J. So I figured that was a bit more pertinent to what we're doing here, talking about the analog consoles themselves. So again, not EQing anything with these, just comparing sort of the bass tone of these, you know, on every channel and the buildup of them across a number of channels. Of course, you know, with the drums, we would have an instance of this on every single drum mic if we had the individual mics, and same with the bass. We'd have more than one bass track. We'd have, you know, probably at least 3 or 4 from what I've read about the recording of this album. So That being said, the other thing we're going to listen to is the difference between compressing the drums and bass on their own bus and then everything else uncompressed. Mainly, in this case, just the guitars really uncompressed because we don't have any vocals. Versus everything going through a bus compressor. And I also have a little bit of EQ on there based on the GML EQ that they talked about doing to brighten things up. So I'm using the Kive Audio X-Bus compressor. This has kind of replaced the old Waves G-Bus compressor for me on Mixbuss. And Bob Rock had talked, I don't have the exact settings, but we are going to use the same settings for both the drum bus and the mix bus. The only difference, of course, is going to be the threshold set a little different. I was aiming for 4 dB of compression on both just to make it a fair comparison. And I also balanced the outputs to be equal. And the EQ, I'm boosting just a little bit of 10K. What's that? 2 dB, 2.5 dB of 10K shelf, and then just 1 dB of 199 hertz. Yep. And that's it. And I'm doing that the same on both the mix bus and the drum bus. So why don't we start by listening to that? And I have this set up on the 4000E part of our little console here. So got my groups turned on. Actually, I need that off for this. Okay. So now you're hearing the compression just on the drums and bass. Let's so I'm going to switch back and forth. Now you're hearing it on the bus. If you watch my mutes down here. So this is the compression on everything. And if I switch back, listen to the difference in the guitars when I do that. So I'm really curious to see what you guys think. You know what? Let me go back and forth a couple more times. I want you to think about it more and definitely give me your answer in the comments, and then I'll let you know what I'm hearing. So this is drums and bass compressed, guitars uncompressed. Now everything compressed. Back to just drums and bass. So, if I were a betting man, I would say that most of you probably noticed the guitars get a little smaller when you're compressing them with the drums and bass. And that's the thing that apparently drove James Hetfield nuts on the Black Album mix. And because they were on an SSL 4000E, a variation on the 4000, and they had 3 stereo buses to play with, they were able to put the drums and bass on their own stereo bus, compress the hell out of it as much as they wanted. They may have compressed it much more than I am. I don't know that. I just wanted to use a fair amount of compression to make this, you know, a pretty even listening test. So that, yeah, they might have nuked the drums way more. But I think, you know, at the end of the day, James wanted his guitars to sort of stand tall and wide and a little brighter too. I've noticed, you know, when you have the guitars going through the bus compressor with the drums and bass, it does kind of take down the top a little bit, you know, kind of pulls them down. Does the same thing to cymbals too. And we're actually going to do another video on the parallel cymbal processing that sort of happened by accident on the Black Album. and was something that Bob and Randy, I believe, stuck with on Load. They said they became big fans of it. So this is the first part of our test. Now we're going to A/B between the 4000E mix that you've been hearing and the 9000J mix. So actually, why don't we just jump over to the 9000J and start fresh with that? So levels are all the same. Only difference you're hearing is the effect of those Brainworx 9000J channels. Okay, here we go. All right. So again, let me know what you think. Let me know. Type real quick in the comments, right? I know this isn't live, but you know, it's kind of fun to approach it that way. So how I would describe the differences here, to me, the 9000J mix is a little brighter. It's a little more open overall. You can hear details like the room and the reverb a little more. It's not like obfuscated as much. Whereas I feel like in the 4000E mix, because of the extra harmonics you're getting from pushing those channels, it kind of, I don't know, it kind of masks things in a way. And the top is definitely, I would say smoother, because I think the guitars sound more aggressive on the 4000E. But I think overall, the very top of the mix just isn't as extended as the 9000J. That's a good way to put it, because it's not a dull mix by any chance. I think that it's just a little more open and extended on the 9000Js than on the 4000Es. And the 4000, it definitely fills something out in the middle that it blends a bit more, whereas maybe the 9000Js are a little more separated. And you know what, why don't we just, with that in mind, have another listen to it. And I understand this might be like confirmation bias now that we've talked it through, but still try to listen for those things that I mentioned. Here's the J's. So I hope you guys could hear what I'm talking about in those. It is, you know, it's not as night and day as I thought it might be, but it is noticeable. You know, I went on the my VSX headphones and went through all the rooms, and I wish there was a way I could let you guys hear that, but it's just, if you don't have the headphones, it doesn't really work. But, you know, I went through my usual room tour that I kind of use as just another reference, you know, beyond the speakers that I'm used to. And it really is like the Howie Weinberg mastering room is really like, you hear the most detail in this mode, both engineer and client. And yeah, that was really probably the most revealing of them all. very, very cool to listen to in there. Yeah, this was the best way I could come up with. Oh, one other thing I wanted to do. I want you guys to hear the difference between the Brainworx 4000Es and the old, the Waves E version 2s that I was using for so long. I had gotten so used to, and I think the Brainworx might be replacing it for me, at least temporarily. I'm just demoing it for now, but I really like it. So let's, let me bypass them all, first of all. So that's with nothing. I'll toggle them on and off a couple times for you. Okay, now let's listen to some E's. See, the Brainworx definitely adds a bit more there. But the old Waves adds a little something, just not as much. Not as nicely. And just for fun, I want to listen to, I'm going to bypass the Brainworx J's. I don't have an alternative set up to let you hear, but I think it's still worth hearing them turned on and off. So that's with nothing. There's an enhancement in the top end that jumps right out when I turn them on. So this kind of confirms what I was hearing when we were A/Bing the mixes back and forth. The 9000J really does sort of emphasize the upper frequencies and the clarity much more, whereas the 4000E Brainworx really just adds that mid-range harmonic content and gives the guitars just a little extra something, a little extra edge to the guitars, and also sort of fills out the mix overall. So yeah, I found this really, really fun and interesting to do, and I'm glad I thought of a way to do it after that last video, because you guys seem to really dig that video when we were talking about the different consoles and the different methods that, you know, Bob Rock, Randy Staub, Mike Fraser, and Metallica worked on those desks to make those great albums. So yeah, I hope you dig this. Please let me know what you think. I really can't wait to hear what you guys hear, because you're probably going to hear something different in your environment on your speakers or headphones or whatever you use, maybe than I'm hearing here. So I look forward to that and hope I can learn something from you guys. All right. So until next time, please like, comment, subscribe, all that great stuff. And we'll talk again real soon. All right. Take care, guys.